turning. That's a penalty, is it? No, he's still going. Oh, how about that? How about that?
Carried on into the penalty area. Here he is. And then Giroud. What a goal. Brilliantly worked. Fantastically finished.
Here's Ramsey. And Alexis Sanchez. Great footwork. 3-0. Liverpool blown away. A 3-goal, 8-minute Arsenal blast. Alexis blocked by Newcastle defender. Still not cleared. Wow, what a volley. Where others failed, Ozil has succeeded. Well done, Arteta. Plenty of hits here. Yes! Arsenal have their breakthrough. Mikel Arteta. They deserve it. Oh, they're behind again. It's amazing. It's Aaron Ramsey. That's the response of Arsenal. Iwobi, nicely done. Brilliantly done. Bayern Walcott. Sensational Arsenal goal. Is that a handball? No. Nothing the play can do. Great, what a goal! Arsenal have made it 3-0. Jack Wilshere with an absolute thunderbolt.
Hello and welcome to the Clock and Talk, an Arsenal podcast. I'm your host, Tiz. And people probably going, what the fuck is going on? Because we have no Twitter account. So I will get into that in a minute. But those who have joined us on YouTube, that's about it. And Facebook, I welcome you, lads, because that's where you can watch us at the moment, because there is no Twitter account for the Clock and Talk. But you can get me at Gurnatez. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm pretty sure that's it. Anyway, Tony, how are you, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Just wrapping up the year, 24 hours left, or just over 24 hours left of 2020. And then we go again in 21.
24 hours for you, eh?
26, but...
26, yeah. I'm just trying to think, what is it for us?
Less than that.
Yeah, I was trying to do the maths, but don't bother. But anyway, it's 9 a.m. here on a Thursday morning, New Year's Eve, and I do plan to have a few little bobblies this afternoon. So, as Lee calls them, ciders. So, shout out Lee. Rowan, good morning, buddy. How are you, mate? Happy New Year, and stay safe tonight, mate, and do not drink too much. But anyway, Tony, let's get into Brighton. We get another win, mate. I'm all over the shop. This Twitter account has completely fucked me. Just before we get into it, I'm going to just say, Tony, Twitter is not a place for racism, mate.
Don't, because I've already had DMs about that, about you and your language you use and whatnot, and I've had to defend you so many times. I can't do it publicly. No, but for anyone listening that doesn't know, basically Tez can't help himself and calls everyone a cunt at all times. And the lovely people at Twitter haven't taken kindly to that. And our account's been suspended. We've emailed to try and get it back, but we've been ignored. So here we are.
Nothing yet. Yeah, I've got nothing yet. And I'm still actually working out what was said and who said what. But I'm thinking it's the Saka poll, to be honest. So, as one of the boys did mention, the Saka poll was a little bit foul taste, Tony.
I mean, I used the word fuck, but if that gets you banned from Twitter, there would be no one on it. Like, there would be 4 people on Twitter. Like, who'd you follow? Fred, Steve, George, or John? And they're your options.
Yeah. Oh, fuck it. Anyway, let's get into this because this will still go out to all them lovely people who are on their podcast apps. So that's where a lot of our listeners are. So, Brighton, yes, we are going to do a review of this game. I know there's not much really to talk about. We don't have questions because I had nowhere to put the question thread. And so we'll just tackle this game. We might discuss a little bit about the Premier League, what took place this week. And I just want to touch on some transfer rumours with you, Tony. Line up, mate, Arsenal v Brighton. I was a little surprised because very similar lineup to, apart from Aubameyang in for Lacazette, very similar lineup as the week before.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the week before; it was a couple of days before, and that's
Yeah.
the issue is trying to get the balance right. Obviously, we've won for the first time in about 15 years, so you don't want to change too much, but then you're playing twice in 3 days, I think it was. So you had to get the balance right. I mean, on paper, everyone would have probably wanted an unchanged or very few changes, but then you've got to worry about, are the players fit enough and can they do another 90 minutes? And we've seen, if you look throughout the league, not just us, different teams are taking different approaches. So obviously, Brighton against us made 6 changes. Chelsea in their game made 6 changes. And then you've had other teams that have barely made any. Like we only made one. Liverpool made one or two. One was enforced by injury. So it's just been different teams. West Ham made loads. I don't know the exact number, but I think it was 6+ as well. So Leicester made 6. So again, yeah, it's just how you look at it. And it's one of them things, you never know what's the right decision until after the game. If you make 6 changes and still win, it's a genius decision. You're giving everyone a rest. If you make 6 changes and don't win, then you're an idiot. And I've seen people hammering Brendan Rodgers for not playing Vardy. But I mean, the guy's in his 30s and he's played a lot with us. We only made 1 change. And if we don't go and win that and look a bit leggy, everyone goes, oh, it's poor management, blah, blah, blah. In a way, it's worked out perfect. We've not made any change, or we've only made 1 change. We've won the game. And just we've got hope now that them players can get some energy back in the legs before West Brom.
Yeah, West Brom got their asses handed to them by Leeds. So that's, we are going into a game where I'm a little bit more comfortable with than the last 2 that we have. Brighton are a funny team though, mate. I wasn't overly confident, and I know like I should be overly confident. Like we like to think of ourselves as a top 6 team, but we have had an absolute shocker of a season. But Brighton are a team to you don't take lightly. They can counter, and they can fluke a goal in, and they sit back deep, and they are a bit of a worry.
They're the most annoying team in the league because they always make the big teams struggle, or the big/better teams struggle. And then you look at the end of the season, they're always somewhere near the bottom of the league. They keep the ball very well, but they don't do anything with it, which is frustrating in its own sense because you can't win it back by them attacking and you nicking it back and trying to counter, because they just pass the ball needlessly at times for long spells, and you're just like, come on, do something. But that's what bothers the bigger teams, because the bigger teams are used to having a lot of the ball, and when they don't have the ball, it's quick turnovers, or the other team has an attack and they put a cross into the big man, and you either win it back or it goes into keeper's arms or whatever. With Brighton, they just keep the ball for no reason, basically. It's like there's no attacking intent. They just keep the ball, and that frustrates a lot of teams, and it did us in the first half, to be honest. You can see our players are like, it's like you're not rushing. It's like you're doing nothing because you're not scrambling to defend, but then you ain't got the ball. And it's just they're a pain in the ass. I literally hate them.
I'm not. Obviously, we won 1-0, and we'll get to the goal later. However, a couple of highlights that I just want to touch base with you, because it just seemed to be a lot of Arsenal fans moaning about this game. And we got to win, for fuck's sake. Like, be happy, lads. Be happy. We got the win. Okay, it wasn't pretty football, but you've got to take into account that's what you're going to get from a Brighton team. Like, they do not make you play pretty. A highlight that was, if it wasn't trending on Twitter, it was very fucking close. 13 shots from Arsenal, 2 on target, Tony.
Yeah. Look, I mean, you look at Brighton against the bigger teams this season. They've drawn with Liverpool. They lost to Man United after the final whistle. When the final whistle went, it was 2-2. But then Man United got the penalty. They were very unlucky against Chelsea. I think they had them on the ropes in the last 10 minutes, and then Chelsea scored on the counter. They lost 2-1 to Tottenham with a ridiculous penalty when Harry Kane done his assault in someone that's in the air and got a penalty for it. And that's their results against big teams. Their problem is then you look at them against Sheffield United, who only had 1 point at the time, and Brighton needed a 94th minute equaliser, I think it was, or late on, and it was 10 men Sheffield United as well. So, as you said, it was always going to be a difficult game. It's what they do, and as you said, I think you just got to try and get it over the line. When Man United done it, Liverpool didn't. I said we've done it now, and for me, there's no cause to moan. It was never going to be an exciting game. But the problem is we was exciting against Chelsea because it was an open pitch and there's space to run into and the movement can take effect. Brighton don't give you that. I mean, I think we were quite bad in the first half and they got a little bit adventurous at the start of the second half. And for 10 minutes, we looked really good because Brighton gave us that space and then they stopped because they remembered they were Brighton.
The last three games, I just want to touch on, and I often look at the passes and how many passes in a game and where I'm actually seeing the attack from Arsenal. I think against Everton, there was around about the 500 odd passes per game. Chelsea, there was half that, we're at about 250, 300 passes a game. This one was up to about 510 a game, with a lot of the attack going down Tierney's side. Is there anything that you see in that, as opposed to Chelsea match? Was a very well. There was a lot less passes, nearly half of what there was against Brighton and Everton.
Yeah, but that's just going to be the difference between teams sitting off you and not sitting off you. Obviously, when we had the ball against Brighton, they're packed 11 men behind the ball. They're not particularly pressing. So you're knocking the ball around and you're going to pick up numbers of passes. It's a stat. For me, I mean, I'm not a stats fan anyway, as everyone knows, but for me, it's a really useless stat. It doesn't tell you anything. And yeah, I mean, all it tells me is Brighton didn't really try and get the ball back. And because we couldn't break them down, we knocked the ball about. Like, if you can, obviously Chelsea, a couple of times there was one or two passes and we've gone from back to front. Against Brighton, okay, that may have happened once or twice, but in general, it's going to be you have the ball and you're knocking it around trying to probe and find spaces.
I'm just looking. There was a couple of yellows. No, there wasn't. Half time, I've gone in at half time. It's still 0-0, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, we just need to get that one goal to get this game. Not a lot happened. It was, like I said, I think it was it wasn't an entertaining game. I agree with a lot of Arsenal fans. It was a game that wasn't pretty, but that comes up against the opposition you're playing. Lacazette comes on in the 66th minute. Assist by Saka, wasn't it? Yeah. That was pretty good. I was happy.
Yeah, but I mean, look, after a pretty quiet first half where we basically done no attacking, we didn't try and attack, but we wasn't successful in doing anything really. I think we're a group of people, and as a fan base, we've criticised Arteta quite a lot recently, and I think you have to give him some credit because the second half we came out and for 10, 15, 20 minutes, however long you want to call it, we looked not unbelievable. That's going over the top, but we look very good.
Yeah,
we look very. I mean, the Aubameyang chance where Aubameyang should score, but the keeper's made a good save, and then the other Aubameyang chance where he opened his body and fucked it. The Martinelli one, I'd expect Martinelli to score when he opened his body and fucked it. Then we get the goal, and then there was another chance that I'm struggling to think of. But I remember there being one other. So we've gone from we created nothing, and then he's got him in at half time, and I think, say, the last 10 minutes of the first half, Brighton were really on top. So he's got them in at half time, and whether he's changed something tactically or whatever he said to them has worked, and we've come out a completely different attacking side. We've got Smith Rowe in the game a hell of a lot more. Saka involved a lot more going forward rather than just ticking the ball over. And for me, I think, as I said, we've been more than happy to criticise him in recent weeks, including me. This isn't a dig at anyone. If we've been more than happy to criticise when something goes right, I think we've got to say well done or fair play or whatever phrase you want to use.
Russ has managed to find us. How are we, Russ? Just a recap, we have lost our Twitter account, buddy, so appreciate you lads tuning in on YouTube. Where am I going here? Lacazette, not Lacazette, Aubameyang. There was a I just want to touch on him for a minute because I seen him getting a lot of criticism. I've heard a lot of podcasts last week criticising him against Chelsea, which he didn't even play a part of. Sat in the stands, and a lot of people, moaned about the cheeky grins and things like that. I see a player here, Tony, who is so much out of form. It's ridiculous. Like, there was a ball, and I know, Aubameyang's not one to be pinpointing passes, but there was one across goal that just went into the grandstand somewhere. Like, I think it was might have been towards Saka.
No, he overhit across to Smith Rowe, but
Smith Rowe was, yeah. Smith Rowe was blowing up too, and I thought, oh shit, he's a long way out of form.
Yeah, look, I mean, he's been out for a few games. He wasn't playing particularly well before that, and we wasn't particularly playing well. But I saw quite a lot of criticism from him yesterday, and I don't think he was particularly bad. I mean, when people have been calling out for him to play up front, and then he's played up front, and that's okay, barring the misses. That's what you're going to get from him when he plays up front. He's not going to be involved too much, but he's going to have good movement and make chances for himself in the box. That's what he done. Yesterday, he didn't score the goals, and okay, fair enough, you can criticise him for that. But all the people calling him to play up front, that's what you've asked him to do, is exactly what he done yesterday. As I said, he's not going to, on the left, okay, you might see him take on a defender, beat a defender and whip a shot in or get to the byline and pull a cross back for someone else. When he plays central, he's a low impact player or low involvement player, high impact, hopefully. Yeah. That's I didn't really get the criticism. Well, if you've never seen Aubameyang play football before, okay, I understand the criticism. You want more from your striker, but I mean, this is how he's played for 10, 15 years. So if you know Aubameyang, for me, I don't see where, as I said, apart from the misses. But in terms of the performance and what he done, where people are moaning, he wasn't involved a lot. Well, what did you expect?
Were you a bit surprised it wasn't a Lacazette for Aubameyang? Well, Martinelli came off.
No, I mean, his fitness. The problem is not the problem, I guess. But Gabby's been out for a long time. He's played a part in 3 games in basically a week or just over, and his fitness is not where it should be. It's not 100% for obvious reasons because he's been out and he tries so hard. So, I mean, him, to be honest, for me, before the game, I would have said that by the 70th minute, Martinelli and Smith Rowe will both be off the pitch. And that probably would have been the case had Saka not got injured because Smith Rowe was lined up to come off and then Saka got injured. But it's just, that wasn't tactical. It wasn't a reflection on performance. It was a reflection of Gabby's not fit enough to play 90, and we're probably going to use him again on, I don't even know what day of the week it is, but we're probably going to use him again against West Brom. So you've got to manage the minutes. And look, everyone would be very quick to moan if he took Aubameyang off and then Gabby went down injured 5 minutes later and was out for 3 weeks. Everyone would be like, poor management again. We know he's only just come back. He looked knackered, which he did. And then he didn't take him off and now his hamstring's gone. And everyone would be hammering Arteta for that. I think, for me, it was the obvious substitution.
Saka, you did touch on, he got injured. You heard much there? I heard, he's not too bad. So
no, Arteta said he thinks it's just bruising. He took a heavy challenge a few minutes before he went down, sort of tried to run it off and couldn't, and that's all it looks like. But I mean, it is always hard to tell with them injuries when the press conference is either straight after or the next day, because players will naturally swell up a bit when they play a game and they can't do any scans and stuff until the swelling's gone down. But chances are, from what Arteta said, it's a non-consequential injury.
Sabay's come on for Saka, and obviously Maitland-Niles come on for Smith Rowe. Maitland-Niles seems to be creeping back into the team all right. I sat here a few weeks ago and felt that Maitland-Niles was on the outer, then there's reports of him leaving in January and things like that I'll touch on later. But it seems as though maybe he turned a bit of a corner, or is it just that we had no other choice?
No, I mean, look, I didn't agree with you then, so I'm not going to say, oh, this proves you wrong. For me, we needed to shore up the right side. Smith Rowe was fucked and not a winger. Um, and so then your two options, and I think they got not in behind, but they had a couple of 2-on-1s and a few dangerous situations down that side, where it's a bit too easy to get crosses in. So we need to shore up that side of the pitch. And your options there, I think there was 10 minutes or so to go. Your two options at that point are Pepe or Maitland-Niles. And if you're looking to shore up a game, then Maitland-Niles is the obvious option.
Yeah. Mate, I really haven't got much else to take out of this match. It was a simple match. We won the game 1-0. We can do a 3-2-1, and that's about sums it up, unless you got anything else to add there.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about the goal too much. I mean, Saka's done brilliantly. For me, it's annoying when people play Brighton, because the obvious thing for me to think any team should do is make Dan Burn get tight and spin, and because he's never going to catch you. And the only time we really isolated him in the whole game was for the goal, and Saka's done exactly that. He spun him on the halfway line. Good strong run, good pick out, really good finish by Lacazette. As I said, well, everyone knows I'm not the biggest Lacazette fan. I also don't think he's a very good finisher, but that was class. And you and Schwinn both messaged me and said, I think he was lucky. I don't. And as I have no problem in criticising Lacazette when I think it's due, but I think it was an unbelievable finish.
Yeah, I thought maybe it's because of Lacazette. I don't know. It's just for me, he's never a sure thing. Like, I don't want to criticise him too much because he got the goal, and look, the last 2 or 3 games he has been pretty good. Like, he's basically playing himself back into this team as opposed to, I thought he was at one stage gone. Like, I didn't think he was, I didn't think he'd be. Well, he's not starting yet. Like, well, he started, but like he started against Chelsea. But like, I thought that he might be on the outer, and I can think to myself now, well, Lacazette might be playing himself back into the team, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not criticising. I just thought it was Lacazette. His form's been up and down. I thought, oh, geez, he's a bit lucky there. Like, I'll take it, but no squalms about it though. It doesn't bother me. I'm not a Lacazette hater, to be honest, either. So I quite like Lacazette. I hate the way his form's up and down. That's my biggest thing with Lacazette. Like, you know what I mean? He's not a sure thing. He's not like a Werner who's fucking just no form in the Premier League. Lacazette he's a very funny kind of striker, isn't he? Like, he goes back so deep. He's never in the channels where I want him to run. Maybe it's just the team that's not set up for Lacazette. I don't know what it is. I'm not a manager. I'm not going to sit here and try and be a fucking, understand how to fit a Lacazette in a team. But I don't know whether it's him too or Arteta. I don't know. Yeah. Digging myself a hole here.
Massively.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah. For me, I thought Smith Rowe was man of the match by an absolute mile. I was shocked that I was on Twitter and I saw that Arsenal had done a poll, and at the point I saw it, Saka had 80%, and then the other, obviously 20, was split between a couple of other players. And then I know Saka won it on the Arsenal Twitter. I don't know what percentage he ended up with. But I was shocked because I thought Smith Rowe was comfortably man of the match. For everything good we done, basically came through him. Even like their bookings was come from either him driving and getting fouled or him playing a little 1-2 around the corner and getting someone in and getting fouled. I basically thought, barring the goal, every attacking situation he was heavily involved in. So yeah, for me, I thought he was comfortably man of the match. And I actually said it in the WhatsApp group this morning, that what I've just said here. And a few of them said either they thought the same or they thought he was the best player in the second half by a mile. But everyone attacking wise was quiet in the first half, so maybe they didn't give it to him. But I was surprised that, as I said on Arsenal Twitter, it was such a strong Saka. You doing yours?
Look,
Or am I going
might as well do it. I'll do mine. Saka for me got the 3. I just like what this kid offers. I get where you're coming from with Smith Rowe. I like Smith Rowe, but Saka, he just pops up all over the place. He's committed, and I look at this team, and yeah, and you can go back to Chelsea as well. You see a lot of, no one gets a man of the match from effort, but like Tierney, Martinelli, Saka, Smith Rowe, Pablo, they're the blokes that I'm like looking to and going, fucking like they're just playing their guts out at the moment for this team. I'm not seeing that from, I'll be honest, Rob Holding, El Neni. I'm not seeing it from Bellerin. Leno's hard to judge because he's in goal, but body language wise, Aubameyang, I'm just not seeing it with them boys. Where these younger kids, they're playing for the badge, and Saka he's playing out of his skin. I think he's everywhere. He is a massive part of this team.
I think you've been very unfair to some players there, but I can't disagree with the Saka's work rate. Look, I mean, I know I just spent 10 minutes saying why I think Smith Rowe was better than him. Saka is still my 2. I'm not saying he was shit. I was just shocked that 80% of people thought Saka was a man. Because I know they could have thought Saka was only a tiny bit better than Smith Rowe. And if everyone thinks that, you end up with a huge gap on the poll. But in reality, it's quite tight.
Yeah,
well, obviously,
Well, Smith Rowe is my 2, so that's how close it was, and it probably goes down to I just whether it's Saka just caught me eye a little bit more on the day. That's probably where it comes down.
Yeah, look, as I said, I don't think it's wrong to. I said I thought Smith Rowe was. I don't think it's wrong to say Saka was. I was just surprised that the margin of it. That I said 80%, and then it wasn't like 80-20. It was like 80 Saka, maybe 6 Smith Rowe, 5 someone else, and 9. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I was just surprised by the margin of it. I'm not saying that it was wrong.
Yeah, well, I'm just looking. Saka was a 7.9, and that was obviously due to the assist. Smith Rowe was a 7.4 without a goal or an assist. If he got the assist, or a goal, Smith Rowe would be up around the 8.1, 8.5 or something.
Yeah, who's that? Who scored?
Hey?
What was that on? Who scored?
Foot mob.
Okay, yeah. But it's algorithms, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
One. To be honest, you could list pretty much all of the players here, and I'm just going to pick one because I like him, and I thought Tierney was pretty solid in both halves. Actually, I thought in the first half he looked a bit leggy, and Tierney was a big part of that for me. I thought they all looked a bit. I don't know if tired's the right. I thought the pitch played really slow, and that bothered them a bit. But I thought Tierney was just he was solid throughout. He got forward. He put some crosses in. Didn't really get anywhere with them, but especially in the first half, that looked like all we had is try and get him 1v1 with Veltman. I think it was. He was their right wing back, and with a ball in, and he done that a few times. And as I said, got a couple of crosses in, won a couple of corners. As I said, I could have gone with so many of the players here.
I wanted to ask you about Tierney, actually, since you're bringing him up, because I often wonder what's his instructions in a game and what's his role in a game. Because I'll tell you the way I see a Tierney. I see a left wing back who gets forward and crosses, and I think there's more to his game than that.
Well, I mean, it's difficult when you're wide. He's not going to go on mazy runs into the middle, and he's also not that type of player anyway. He's quick, and he uses that one-on-one to either work overloads, which we do a lot, and I think that's something you're missing out. It's not just crosses. We work overloads a hell of a lot, and it might end up in a cross, but that's using his engine to get the overload and get the 2-on-1. But I mean, as a fullback,
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but like when I see a player, I'm just trying to think of another brilliant left winger, but
I mean, look, they're naturally very wide, and they've also got to think about going both ways. So naturally, crossing the ball, getting up and down and crossing the ball is going to be 99% of their job. I mean, look at anyone else that anyone thinks is good, especially in the Premier League at the moment, and you can go left back or right back because they're the same. They're parallels.
Same.
But you go Robertson, Trent. They both just get up and down across the ball, and they're probably regarded as the two best. I mean, someone might say Wan-Bissaka's up.
Trent will put it in from a halfway line. Like, he is just pinpoint fucking.
Yeah,
brilliant.
I mean, his crossing is insane, but he can't defend. He's not like 10 years ago. He wouldn't have been a right back, and in a team that wasn't as good as Liverpool, he wouldn't be a right back. Like, it's just he's in a team that barely needs to defend. Like, no, it's not even that. He's in a team that are so dominant. And look how shit. Like, I mean, where Liverpool have not been strong recently, Trent's looked awful. Like, it's just not been in the games because he's had to stay further back because Liverpool aren't playing well, and then there's nothing there. But as I said, naturally, as a fullback or a wing back, you can name anyone. A large part of their job is going to be getting up and down, don't get beat in your one-on-ones, and try and beat them on the one-on-ones, and then get balls into the box, whether it be a cutback or a what we'd call standard cross.
Yeah. Oh, look, I'm not saying there's a bad thing because, look, and the attacking mindset of Arteta is play down the wings, cross in the middle, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing because at least he's fucking trying something, like at least. But my biggest thing is the one-dimensional of that. Like, I want to try something a little bit more as well, but it's just hard.
Yeah, but that's not going to come from your left back. Well, it's not going to come from your left back, is it? If you want to start trying to play through the middle and going for a number 10 more and finding cute, intricate passes, your left back's job is still going to be get on the overload. Like, their job is, regardless of how you attack, unless you've got, I'm trying to think, who has there been in years gone by where they've got a Matt Doherty when he was at Wolves. I know it was a wing back, so it's slightly different, but he's very good in the air. So his job as a fullback wasn't so much to get to the touchline and cross. Theirs was they built down the left and he got to the back post because he was good in the air and quite big. So unless you've got some freak physical advantage that's unnatural for your position, anyone's role as a fullback is going to be get up and down, get on the overload, and try and win your one-on-ones.
Try and win one-on-one, yeah. My 1 point will go to Pablo. I just think this bloke he's solid. I like him. I liked him against Chelsea. I liked him here. My biggest thing is, I don't know if there's, no, there wasn't. My biggest, might been in the WhatsApp chat. What happens when Gabriel comes back? Does Pablo go or does Rob Holding go? Because I'm liking, the more I look at Pablo, I'm like Rob Holding. I think it's
they can't play them two together. They can't play Pablo Mari and Gabriel together because they're both left-footed.
So it's got to be Pablo go and whether Gabriel.
The question is, does he get his place back? I said this to you and Addy the other day. Just because Gabriel makes us naturally defend higher because he goes and tries to win everything, and we've not got the pace for that. Look, as I say, if you're asking me who's a better defender, I'd say Gabriel. But sometimes better players don't suit teams as well. Or are we going to be able to get Gabriel to stay disciplined and stay deep and win the ball when it's in front of you and don't try and win it when it's 15 yards in front of you? So, I mean, look, at the moment we've got West Brom and Gabriel's definitely out for that. And then I think the next game after that, I'm not 100%, but I think the next game's the FA Cup. Yeah, in the FA Cup. Yeah, and then do you then make changes and do you bring Gabriel? Will Gabriel be ready? Do you bring him back in? Do we make a lot of changes? Do we keep the same team? Because after West Brom, I think they've got a few days off before they play Newcastle. So there's a lot of questions to ask, but you never know. We could go to West Brom and get battered with aerial bombardment. Pablo Mari gets beat in the air 2 or 3 times and suddenly everyone's going, oh, thank fuck Gabriel's back.
Yeah, true. It is only one guy. Yeah. That's about it for that one. That's about it. Looking forward to what's coming up. So I just want to touch briefly, and we often talk about this in our Patreon-only shows when we talk about the Premier League, but it's, no questions as well and things like that. So I just thought I'd touch quickly on the midweek games, mate. What was a standout for you? Who did you see any, like Chelsea, Aston Villa 1-1? The City and Everton, that was postponed. The Palace and Leicester game, that was a 1-1. That game type of threw me. Man United got the 3 points over Wolves. Leeds absolutely smashed West Brom. Burnley got up against Sheffield. Burnley are one starting to creep up a little bit, I think. Burnley, they don't know what's going on there, but they're starting to string over a few wins or get a few points. Anything stand out there for you, mate, in the games that were?
No, I watched 4 or 5 of them and then saw the highlights of the others. It was a very low scoring Leeds aside round of fixtures, which is not in keeping with how this season's gone so far. I don't think many of the games are very good, and look, that's probably down to tiredness and teams happy to stay in a shape more. As I said, I thought our game, we looked leggy. Brighton made 6 changes and they didn't look as leggy, but then that they didn't have the quality. They've probably not got a big enough squad to make 6 changes. Leicester made 6 changes, and again, I don't think they've got the players to. I mean, the names they bring in, I'm not saying they're shit, but it's not Leicester. You take out Vardy, Maddison, Tielemans, I think Ndidi, whoever was at left back, and it's not the same team. Castagne, that's it. So I just think this round of fixtures was pretty poor on the whole. I mean, West Brom, it kind of worried me because they had the great result against Liverpool, and they, from what I've seen, again, I think it was on at the same time as our game, so I've only seen the highlights. But from what I've seen and read, they actually tried to play against Leeds, and obviously got battered. First goal was a comical own goal, and that probably set the tone. But that just tells me one thing, that the bus has already been parked for their game against us. The bus is in position and the handbrake's on. They ain't coming out for nothing, because they've got a good result doing that, a horrendous result not doing it. So go figure to what they turn back to against us.
Big Sam, I'll have that sorted. Man United, they're one that is starting to, I look at this table, right? They are second in a league that is fucked up. Liverpool drew again to Newcastle, an hour ago, half hour ago. So again, I don't think Liverpool are playing that great a football at the moment. Man United, what do you make of them? They got a game in hand too. So Man United fans are going, hey, we could be or should be top of the league.
Yeah, their game in hands against Burnley, I think at home. You'd expect them to win that, and that puts them joint top. I don't know. I don't think they're very good, but I say it on here all the time. I don't think the league's very good. I think most teams are bad. I mean, I watched the Man United Wolves game, and apart from being really boring, Wolves wind me up. They don't try and score. The amount of times they broke down the wings and had United in trouble and had no one in the box, it's doing my head in. But yeah, United weren't good at all. But they got the 3 points, and especially at this time of year, I said, especially in a season when everyone's been crap. But at this time of year, I said, when everyone either looked leggy or they made too many changes and the quality wasn't there, just the 3 points is all that matter, and they went and got that. And if you look around them, if you look at who won this weekend, obviously Leicester dropped points, Chelsea dropped points, Liverpool dropped points, City didn't play, Tottenham didn't play. There's another team that's up there, Villa. Obviously, they dropped points as well. So
yeah.
I think if you look at the top 8, it was only United that won, I think, or they might. I don't know who's in the top 8 anymore.
Tottenham fans were very pissed off. I think that was just as we recorded after the Chelsea game. They were dirty at a result. And I'm trying to think who that was now. They drew against Wolves.
Yeah, that was it.
That was it. They were filthy. I didn't watch the game because it must have been the same time as us or something, was it?
No.
Anyway,
I watched it.
Did you? They were filthy. Like I seen on Twitter, Mourinho out. They want him gone. Is it that bad a football they're playing at there?
No, the thing is, they went 1-0 up after about 45 seconds, and then tried to defend for the rest of the game, and I think they conceded in stoppage time, and then they tried to come out and play for the next minute and looked half dangerous. And I think the fans, look, it's Mourinho. When it goes for you, it's a tactical masterclass. When it doesn't work, it's shit, negative, and boring. Nothing's ever changed. That's been
Yeah.
Mourinho since the day he's been managing. So what do you do? Do you take the good with the smooth, or he is like some managers? I know it sounds stupid. They're not purely judged on results. The level of performance will get you through a few things. Oh, we're not playing well, but we can see what we're trying to do, and we're playing nice football. It's just not coming off at the moment. Mourinho is never going to be that. He's either going to be he's won, it's great. He's lost, it's shit. They're your options.
Russ says he's asking a question. Do you guys see the league being shut down due to COVID? A few games have been called off. I actually said a couple of lads yesterday, I have a funny feeling we're going to see this league being postponed because City, mate, they got 5 or 6 players, maybe more. Yeah, I don't know. What's happening over there?
No, I think there's next to no chance. The FA there was rumours that all the teams had a meet, and the FA come out today and said that's not true. There's no intentions to suspend it. City took the piss, but the FA have been really weak as well because at the start of the season they sent out guidelines not only to the clubs but to the press, to everyone, that if you can field 14 players, the game goes ahead. We don't care. Like, you name a 25-man squad for a reason. So if you can field 14, the game plays. Like, you haven't got a keeper, that's your problem. No, but that's what the league said at the start of the season. Where they fucked themselves is Newcastle. They cancelled their games first a couple of weeks ago, and Newcastle had to close their training ground, but they still had 14 players. So by the rules that the league set at the start of the season, should have been made to play. And then City yesterday was an absolute joke. They had 5 or 6 players. They asked the FA to call the game off, and the FA said no. And then the medical team at City said, "Oh, but what if more players have got it? Then we'll be spreading it." And the league shit themselves because they don't want 2 teams to be full of COVID now, and postponed it, which they just bottled it. They should never have done that, especially with like the figures that they've branded out, saying basically you can't catch it, or you're very unlikely to catch it outside where you've got minimal close contact. So where the only time you're really close is corners, it's virtually impossible to catch it, apparently. So I mean, the FA have completely bottled it. I mean, City trained today, full training. Like, they had 5 players that caught it, obviously missed, but every other player trained, so they could train today but couldn't play yesterday. It's fucking nonsense. And then the Fulham one was weird because they had a few cases. Because they found a few cases yesterday, they had time to retest. And they were waiting for results today. That's why it went so late. And I don't think I've not heard any update, but from what it seems like, I don't think the results came in time, and the FA just erred on the side of caution. So basically, say 3 or 4 players tested positive, and then because they had 24 hours, they thought, "Oh, we'll test the whole squad, and then we'll see if they've got enough players to play." By the time they had to make a decision, it was like, because at 2:00, Mourinho put on Instagram, like, we're meant to kick off at 6, and I don't even know if we're playing. Like, so do we travel to the ground? Or like, what's going on? So then it got to like 2:30, and the FA had to make a decision, or the Premier League had to make a decision, and I don't think the Fulham results had come. So it could be a case of the results come and the whole squad has COVID, and then obviously you would have had to call it off. But it could be a case of these results have now come, or they'll come early tomorrow morning, and only 4 players had it, and then it would have been a joke to call it off. But because of the Newcastle stuff and because of the City stuff, they've kind of set a precedent that fucks themselves. And I think we will see a couple more games called off, but I don't think there's much chance of the league being called off. And the FA have basically said that today, that the procedures they've put in place have worked so far, like from whenever we came back, June or July, whenever it was, until now. And they can't see why they shouldn't. And the thing is, these are rumours, so I don't know if they're true, but it's very fucking suspicious that there was a party for basically all the Portuguese speaking players, and they're the ones that have all come down with COVID. I mean, you look at us, and Louise and William were suspect. That I don't think they had symptoms, but they didn't test positive. Gabriel's obviously test positive. You look at City, it was Ederson, Cancelo, Bernardo Silva, Gabriel Jesus, all Portuguese speakers. Tottenham, Vinicius Junior and Lucas Moura, Portuguese speakers. So they say like, the bubbles get compromised. But if the rumor is true that there was a party for I'm not going to say a certain race, but a certain group of people that all got together and then COVID spread between that, then things like this are going to happen. And clubs just have to be more sensible about it. But it's one of them things that looks like a major outbreak. But if it is the case that it's just that, then it's actually not a major outbreak. It's one case that's obviously spread ridiculously because of stupid actions.
Okay, I'm going to play this, and then we're going to get into a bit of transfer news or rumours, and we'll just touch on them quickly.
For Gooners everywhere, this is the ultimate football app for you. For match highlights, interviews, and the best Arsenal videos and podcasts. Download the free Gunners app now from the App Store and Google Play.
Tony, there has been, and I'm going to touch on, Arteta and the manager rumours straight off the bat. I've seen lots and lots of reports about Rafa. Arsenal are looking at Rafa. Arsenal looking at an
zero chance.
Okay, that's where I wanted to go. Zero chance because of he's on too much money in China.
That he's never going to build a team long term, and that's what the board feel we need. Even like sometimes you can get a manager that's short term, but they set something in place for the next manager to come into. Benitez doesn't do that. Like Benitez
Where do you think
plays.
that come from though? That rumor. Just he's
press?
available. Yeah, he's available.
Well, I don't even know if he is available.
But he's a manager who's obviously got experience. Who the press maybe feel as though he wants to come back to the Premier League. So let's link.
Yeah, look, I mean, the press a lot of time they put two and two together. Oh, there's a manager who's available. He's managed at a top level club. Arsenal might need a manager, or it'll be an interesting story to say they do need a manager. Let's link them together. I mean, you look at one paper and it says Benitez, you look at another and it says Tuchel, you look at another and it says someone else, and it's like, well, they can't all be true.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Tuchel, he was sacked from PSG. I just can't see that one happening straight away. Maybe next season or something like that, mate. But it might be this bloody quick, surely. Who else was I going to touch? Allegri, that's still floating around. The bloke's still learning English. He's been learning English for 2 years. What else I was going to... Oh, that's what I was going to just say quickly. It's interesting, though, how quickly things do change in the world of football, because I was looking at some odds the other day about who's the next manager to be sacked. And it was Arteta. He was a hot favourite. It's now gone to Lampard. Can you obviously they're not looking too good. They've lost.
This is what I would just. When you just mentioned Tuchel, there's a lot of rumours that he's basically being lined up for the Chelsea job. It would surprise me if they would sack Lampard at their first sign of a bit of trouble because of his history with Chelsea and whatnot. And because the issue with this league is you're only 2 or 3 results away from being basically in the mix again for whatever your target is for any team. Like we've been a disgrace, nothing short of a disgrace this season. But if we beat West Brom and then maybe nick another win after, and I think we've got Palace as our next league game, so it's not like you're going to Anfield, then suddenly you're like, oh, we're in for a shout with the top 6 again. I'm not saying we'll be there, but in terms of points, we might be 2 or 3 points off. And it's like, you can go from being a disgrace to near your aim with a couple of wins, and that makes it hard for any chairman at the moment, I think, to sack anyone. But
I said at the time, West Brom, it was a strange decision sacking. I don't know much about West Brom, but I understand because they were they still are in relegation positions. So, or they probably were a team that probably needed to make some kind of change, and Big Sam's never been relegated, so why not go for someone like that?
I thought it was a bizarre one, but then I speak obviously in my betting groups and whatnot. There's fans of all different clubs, and basically all of us were surprised about Bilic being sacked, apart from the West Brom fan in our group who said not surprised at all. I think they had a really bad time after COVID. As in after the resumption, and they came up just because they were so far ahead pre-COVID. So then when you bring that form into this season, they'd only won sort of 2 or 3 games, whatever it was. I think if you looked at it as a bigger picture, it was maybe a problem. But just their Premier League form, I didn't think was horrendous. I thought it was West Brom level.
Yeah, I don't know what their expectations are. I guess is
Well,
to try and stay
17th.
out of relegation. Like,
Yeah,
that's what they're ticking them boxes, or were until last week. Couple of rumours have come through over the last couple of days. Well, Arsenal's always linked to somebody. This geezer from Red Bull, Leipzig. Yeah, Sabitzer. Know much about him? Thoughts there?
Yeah, it's a decent player. I mean, obviously they've just signed the guy from Red Bull Salzburg that we were linked with, Dominic SZ, and then the rest of the letters. So I'm not sure. Sabitzer has been linked with teams for a while, and I think I think it's probably press putting 2 and 2 together because Leipzig have just signed someone that plays in the same position. Good player. I'm not sure if he would cut it in the Premier League, but other people would disagree with me. I mean, I see it as a lot like a Van de Beek, who I always said I didn't think would cut it in the Premier League, but I think he's a good player.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they play the same or whatnot, but I see Sabitzer in that kind of mold. That I like him, but would he do it in the intensity of the Premier League every week? I'm not sure.
He's still being tortured. Loan on loan was what the last rumor I seen. I don't even think this is gonna be anything, is it?
Well, it'd be a loan till the end of the season. I think basically Real Madrid are gonna loan him out, and it's whoever gets him. That's I don't know if it'll be us.
We could be in for a shout then.
But yeah, I mean, look, I'm only going what the press say. The press reckon Arteta's really keen on him. They actually asked him in the press conference after the Brighton game, and they asked him by name. I think they said, "Do you have any transfer plans?" And Arteta said, "Blah blah blah," whatever he had to say. And then they said, "What about Isco?" And he said, "I don't want to talk about any individual players by name." So, I mean, the press obviously believe there's something in it because they're not asking about Messi because they know there's no story there.
Press talking about Saliba and Nelson going out on loan. I also seen Kolasinac linked to, was it Xhaka?
Schalke, yeah. I mean, Nelson, Arteta wanted to loan Nelson out in the summer and he didn't particularly want to go. And he said, "Let me fight for my place." And obviously now he's barely played. I'd imagine that he's going on loan. Saliba, we all know, there's no point talking about it. Kolasinac is a weird one because there's reports in Sky Germany this evening basically saying it's done to Schalke on loan. But we'd agreed a deal with Leverkusen in the summer and then the wages became an issue and obviously it never happened. I can't see that unless we've loosened our stance, because I can't see that a German club's now gone, "Oh, actually, yeah, we are going to play the vast majority of his wages." So unless we've just gone, "Oh, you know what, fuck it, get him off our books regardless." But I don't think we would do that because I look at left back and obviously there's KT and you take him out. Is he going to play Ains there? And especially now we're playing a back four. If KT needs a rest or gets injured, is he going to play Ainsley at left back? I can't see it. And I suppose there's Cedric as well, to be fair. So, yeah, I mean, maybe we would take a bigger loss on Kolasinac than we was willing to in the summer.
Do you think Saliba will go on loan, or would you like to see him go on loan? Yes, yeah.
He has to.
So you don't see him making the first. You don't see him. Arteta changing his mind on there.
No, there's not a chance. There was also a rumour that Chambers would go out on loan, and that wouldn't surprise me. It does leave us a little bit short if then Socrates goes as well, which there's been some quite solid reports that a few clubs are looking at him, and Arsenal are willing to pay him up now that it's only 5 months instead of 12. But if Socrates goes, Saliba goes, as I said, there's rumours of Chambers, but I think that would leave us a little bit short because then you've got Luiz, who do we trust him? Have him and Arteta falling out? Holding, Mari and Gabriel, Mustafi, but then again, there's rumours of him leaving. You end up with, okay, in numbers it's okay, but in quality it's not the best, and also in how much you trust them because I said 2 of them are going to be Luiz and Mustafi, and they're the right-sided. So then you've only really got Holding as your right-sided centre back.
I seen I think it was the AFC Bell. He got the party deal right. I think he tweeted something about Iowa, that we are still interested in him. Do you see anything like that happening in January? I don't, but I never thought other Aubameyang had come in January either. So
Look, I think I can't see it happening, but I think Arsenal will spend money if it's a part of a long-term plan. So, say someone like Isco, who probably is only seen as a stopgap because he's available and we need someone in that position, then obviously I would see a short-term loan, and that's fine. But I think if they see someone that is potentially going to be a 5-year, 10-year player, then I think they would be willing to spend money. So then when you look at the likes of Buendia and Aouar, I'm not saying I see either of them happening, but I could see Arsenal spending money if they think something's the right long-term deal.
okay. Elephant in the room: does Ozil go or stay?
Stay.
Stay. Yeah.
Stay, but doesn't get in the squad.
Yeah. Okay. Russ just said a couple. He said Isco, Ericsson, or neither.
I mean, on a short-term loan, Isco is probably more doable. I don't think either particularly suits us, to be honest. They're both decent players. But then again, you go, if it's a short-term loan, is Ericsson being more suited to the league because he knows it? Is he more likely to make an instant impact? I think Isco's the better player. But if you're only looking for 5 months, then do you go with someone that isn't going to take bedding into the league? And as I said, I don't think either of them suit us.
Yeah, but I agree with what you said. Ericsson knows the Premier League. He's been here before. He goes straight in. And a January signing, I think it'd be more than a 5-month deal. They wouldn't just.
No, that's the only way. That's the only way either of them things happen.
Okay.
There's no chance anything beyond that.
No. Russ also says I wouldn't touch Tuchel with a barge pole. I don't know much about him.
It's funny. It's a few years ago everyone wanted him, and then at PSG's, I think, won the league every year, got to a Champions League final. Okay, they were sitting third when he was sacked, but I think they were 2 points off. And at the start of the season, their season only started, I think, a week and a half after the Champions League final. So the first 3 games they didn't have any players. But yeah, now I'm not saying I'm a big fan of his, but it's just funny that 2 or 3 years ago everyone wanted him. And then now it's like, no, I won't go near him.
Where was he? He was at Dortmund.
Dortmund, then PSG.
Yeah, where was he before Dortmund? That's what I'm trying to think. He was in Germany. No. So I don't know much about his style or what type of kind of football I've seen him champions. I've seen him champions, but I don't watch PSG. I didn't watch much of Dortmund, so I don't know a lot about him, to be honest, and what kind of style of football he plays. I'd imagine it'd be attacking kind of style with PSG because of the players. But.
Yeah, I mean, with the 2 teams he's had, you're naturally going to be quite attacking. I mean, especially PSG, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I mean, PSG they're a really hard team to manage because, I mean, in a way, and I'm going to be more simplistic than I should be. How do you manage a team when the tactic basically has to be give the ball to a Neymar and Mbappe?
That's right.
You know what I mean? The rest of them are almost pointless because if you've got them 2 players, just let them be. Like, you're not going to get Neymar and tell him to be anything else but Neymar.
Yeah, I know. It's hard. Yeah.
So I think I don't even think style comes into it because give the ball to him
that's what that's what I was a bit concerned with Emery when he came to Arsenal, because I'm like, well, what type of style did he actually have at PSG? What tactic?
Well, no, I mean, his issue was that he didn't like that the tactic should be just give it to Neymar. So he tried to drop them and tried to be clever with them. But there's certain players, and I don't think we've got any of them, that you can't do that with. As I said, if you've got a name, especially in the French league where he's not going to get kicked off the pitch. Like,
yeah, that's right.
Just you've brought them. Obviously, not Emery hadn't brought them or Tuchel hadn't brought them, but you've got them players. You've brought them for a reason, so let them go and be what they're good at. I mean, Neymar's arguably, and Mbappe, both of them are arguably top 5 players in the world. So you don't get them and change the way they play. It's like you don't get Cristiano Ronaldo and say you're now a number 10. It's like you get Cristiano Ronaldo and you say go and be Cristiano Ronaldo.
Smith Rowe shouldn't be the player we pin our hopes on, says Russ. We need a player aged 25 to 26, if possible, this January.
Difficult. I mean, one, to put a name on that player. Two, stylistically. I said I think a lot of the players we've been linked with don't particularly suit us. I don't know. Personally, I'd groom ESR for that role long term. I would have another body in alongside him because, as I said the other day, he's not going to play the remaining 30 games that we have left, or close to 30 games, especially after basically never have played a season before. So you're going to have someone in to deputise, or even they play the main bulk of the games and he plays the smaller part, but at least he's getting minutes. But to put a name on that, especially in the same style, because it's very easy to say get an Isco or get a Christian Eriksen, but they're stylistically so different that you can't play this. You want someone that you can play the same mould every week, but it might be a different name in there. Whereas you get either of them two. I mean, like Isco will come too short. The guy's got fantastic feet, arguably. I mean, up there with probably some of the best feet in football. But he's going to come short. He's going to try and beat a man. He can thread a pass. But Smith Rowe's all energy, running off the ball, forward runs. It's completely different. Like, yeah, okay, the position might be the same, but it's a completely different style, and you don't want to have to be changing your style every week depending on who's playing where.
Russ just said Tuchel managed Mainz and Dortmund like Klopp did. I think Tuchel was at Dortmund when Aubameyang was there. Transferred to Arsenal. I think the two fell out. Okay, there you go. Okay, mate, that's about it for us. It's only an hour today. Hopefully we have a Twitter account back very soon. Otherwise we're going to have to source something out.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. For the time being, you can get updates on my Twitter account at Goonatez. Thank you for downloading, and we'll speak to you next week or something.
Next year.
Next year, yeah, next year, absolutely. And hope everyone has a great new year. Good night and goodbye.